I'm going to nerd out here for just a moment. Please don't judge me. Here is my personal collection of Star Wars figurines from the original A New Hope Star Wars. You can see here, none of them are in pristine condition. None of them are collector's grade because I played with all of them. When I was a young man, I was totally enraptured with the Star Wars saga, one of the greatest trilogies ever made. And I would go to garage sales, knick-knack stores, comic book shops, and I'd pick up any figurine that I could buy with my lawn mowing money. And some of them are kind of rare, really proud of it. And now I let my kids play with them, frankly, because that's what they were meant for. These figures and these stories were meant to be timeless. They were meant to inspire generations, create value, to tell a story that would be here for all time. And that's what the original trilogy did, because it told the hero's journey, the hero's arc, the Homer, Odyssey, Iliad style hero's journey that has always been the archetypical architecture of a great saga. And that is precisely what Star Wars represented for so many generations. And I kind of wish that they had stopped adding to it. And that includes the prequels and the sequels, because all they really do is prove that modern day movie makers can simply vandalize some of the classics and cannot add to them. They can only subtract. I think that's a mix of political ideology and creative bankruptcy and a lack of risk taking. But what's been done to deconstruct our culture and Star Wars culture has been nothing short of criminal. Like this scene right here, the worst scene in the history of cinema. A haggard, bitter, sad, broken, angry hobo Luke Skywalker takes his lightsaber and just chucks it over his shoulder because it's meaningless, signaling to the audience that the things that you love, the actual physical things that you loved from the original Star Wars, these things don't mean anything. They mean something to me. I mean, I spent 100,000 hours playing with these toys, and now I have them for my kids, and my kids play with them. But it means nothing to Luke Skywalker. And this is what Disney was signaling here. The moment in Star Wars when I knew that the postmodern deconstruction of our culture was reaching its apex, it's hard to believe now that this was a real scene, that Disney would wantonly do this, would wantonly destroy this billion-trillion-dollar franchise. If they had run it correctly, if they just run it back, put Han, Luke, and Leia back on screen, maybe retold their story with the same spirit, with the same appreciation, with some respect, but they didn't. Millennials asking boomers to help them with a house down payment instead of getting themselves a second vacation home. All right. Everybody is quote tweeting this since the scene. But now it seems like Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, has had a change of heart. They recognize something. They recognize some very interesting things, which is that, one, this didn't really work, right? Like the Disney kills Han Solo, Disney kills Luke Skywalker, Disney kills Leia. This was a bad idea. Because what you were effectively doing is killing the reason that everybody fell in love with Star Wars in the first place. Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie, Ben Kenobi, Darth Vader. You're destroying your IP, and you spent billions of dollars on this IP. It was the largest purchase in Hollywood history of a intellectual property and studio. And so that was a bad idea. And so maybe it's time to turn the money printing machine back on and just takesies backsies. Are you going to allow them to do that? I don't know. That's from Geeks and Gamers. Rumor Disney remove a Star Wars sequel trilogy from timeline and resume focus on original characters. Oh my. What is this? The future of Star Wars may be heading towards a massive course correction. New insider reports are accurate. Disney could be preparing to split the Star Wars sequel trilogy off into its own isolated timeline and remove it from the main Star Wars storyline. This would be, of course, the Rey films, the girl boss films, the Force's female films. According to an exclusive report, a source close with Lucasfilms claims the internal discussions are underway to branch off the Star Wars sequel trilogy to effectively remove it from primary continuity and allow future storytelling to pivot back towards legacy characters in the original film. If true, this would be one of the most dramatic franchise shifts in modern history. Nobody liked the sequels. The sequels made diminishing and de minimis amounts of money. The first one made billions of dollars. Some people liked it. Some people thought it was just a remake of A New Hope, and I guess it was fine. But then, of course, the corresponding lack of artistic vision or just straight up vandalization and insult to the Star Wars fan base broke the Star Wars franchise in half. Now nobody's buying tickets to Star Wars stuff. Nobody's buying anything about Star Wars at all. In fact, some of the reasons why this is so devastating for Disney is that nobody wants to go to their parks. Nobody wants to buy toys of Rey. Nobody wants to buy toys of the characters. Kylo Ren could have been cool. They turned him into a blubbering weakling who cried for the next trilogy. I mean, they were trying to make a new Darth Vader here, and he spent most of his time crying or raging on camera like an emo teenager. The problem Disney can't ignore, a recent focus group conducted by Matthew Baloney of Puck News paints a bleak picture. Young audience, the teens were asked about the franchise, and the response wasn't passionate debate or excitement. It wasn't even hate or anger. It was total indifference. I like the old stuff, but the new stuff, nah. I'm not too excited about The Mandalorian. I never watched it personally, one teen said. Another claimed anything that came out after I was born isn't great. It isn't Star Wars. The only bright spot was Andor, and even that came in with a shrug conversation. That's a nightmare scenario for Disney. The sequel trilogy wasn't just meant to revive Star Wars. It was supposed to create a new generation of fans. Instead, that generation appears to be largely disconnected from it. Box office isn't helping. The Mandalorian and Grogu is currently tracking for around $80 million domestic opening on Memorial Weekend, a number that would make it the lowest debut in Star Wars theatrical history, even accounting for reported smaller budgets. It's a glaring warning sign from a franchise that once defined blockbuster dominance. This is quiet shifts are already happening. Even beyond the parks, there are signs that Disney has been slowly backing away from the sequel era, talking about how they're bringing back the original characters in the parks, something that Kathleen Kennedy nuked from space. Could you imagine making a theme park without the original Star Wars characters? Without the Millennium Falcon, without Darth Vader? And this is exactly what they did. I don't know. If I was invested in Disney, I would sue. Because the wanton disregard for just shareholder value and fan value, which equals money for these people, is egregious. They have destroyed their fiduciary duty here. Recent merchandising campaigns for May the 4th heavily favored the original trilogy. The Fortnite crossover event leaned in the same direction. Galaxy's Edge itself has been in shifting in-universe timeline, allowing characters like Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia to appear more prominently. Meanwhile, sequel-era elements have been noticeably reduced. Oh my gosh. Rey, Mary Sue, once positioned as a future face of the franchise, is increasingly absent from major promotional pushes. Her long-announced standalone film remains stalled, no visible progress. The Galactic Star Cruiser is a billion-dollar, now-defunct hotel built entirely around the sequel trilogy timeline. It lasted barely a year before shutting down. The biggest high-profile misfire. So what the rumors actually claim is that they would preserve the existing films without outright erasing them, continue telling stories with the original trilogy characters in a new primary timeline, reset the audience expectations without publicly admitting failures. It's a cleaner approach than just entirely rebooting everything. Disney might actually do it because at some point, the financial incentive to pivot is stronger than ever. It isn't just about fan complaints anymore. It's about viability. Disney doesn't need to erase the sequel trilogy to move on. They need to make it optional. The franchise is at a crossroads. So what are people saying about this? This is the rumor. Yeah, this thing is nuked. Look at the 17 million views on this. What will happen next? Splinter off the original trilogy. Hollywood report card, according to high school kids, Star Wars is not cool anymore. None of them liked Star Wars. Very interesting. Still a rumor, but it's similar to the rumors Avengers Doomsday will sever from its phase 4 through 6. So everything that Disney did while woke, is going to be deleted. Marvel, Star Wars, fans streamed franchise for 33 billion minutes, but they only streamed the original Star Wars. Look at this. The 10 most streamed Star Wars titles, May 4th, 2025. Andor, A New Hope. You have The Phantom Menace in there. The Empire Strikes Back. Revenge of the Sith. Return of the Jedi, Attack of the Clones. Literally nothing from the sequels. Nothing. Oh my God. It's so embarrassing. It's still shocking that this episode ever happened in Star Wars. Yes, even now. That's how bad it is. Remember Jack Black and Lizzo written into Star Wars canon as some goofball space royals. It's just desecration. It's just desecration of Star Wars. How many movies has Star Wars announced that killed this past decade? And the one they finally make is Mandalorian and Grogu. LOL. Too amazing to be true. I won't believe until it actually happens. The damage has been done. The trilogy was the biggest Trojan horse in the history of cinema. The woke agenda has already been showing signs of fatigue. The arrival of the Star Wars sequels, Hollywood kicked off a process of self-destruction. The minds of many, the new wave seemed ideal. Everybody was fooled, and what was sold as an evolution turned into a strategy for corrupting the original ideas. They've opened their eyes to the poison they tried to force down our throats. The worst, some of the worst movies ever made, especially these two, but absolutely right here. Worst movie ever made, I think, in Hollywood history. Yeah. You are on the council, but we do not grant you the rank of Star Wars. I know that it can't be true because it's exactly what a large chunk of fans want. Literally just nuke it all from orbit and start over. The sequels have been nothing but brand liability for Star Wars since the beginning. And now the breakdowns of people saying how horrible Kathleen Kennedy was and how Kathleen Kennedy demanded that the original characters not be anywhere near Star Wars. They spent $1 billion featuring a Star Wars park that you were not allowed to make Luke, Leia, Han, or Darth Vader. And now guess who's back? Back again. They're back. Tell a friend. 10 years too late. Everyone's saying it's just too late. Honestly, Disney can't get a single thing right with Star Wars, the most valuable IP in history. This looks so bad. Yeah. So they're going through and removing everything woke. I doubt Disney would ever do this, but it's obviously the correct move. The sequel trilogy doesn't even fit in with the other Disney Star Wars shows like Mandalorian and Ashoka, which depicts robust and fully functioning New Republic, something utterly destroyed by the First Order that arrives just a few years later. In 10 years, the sequels will be as beloved as the prequels. Welcome to 10 years later. They're as hated today as they were 10 years ago. Disney turned $4 billion brand into a $4 million brand. Yeah. This is a very interesting take. Disney is about to delete 5 years of canon because Rey doesn't move toys. Star Wars merchandise peaked at $700 million in 2015 when The Force Awakens was launched. By 2019, the year of Rise of Skywalker, shipped with a $1 billion marketing push as the supposed finale of the Skywalker saga. Hasbro's Star Wars line was doing roughly $150 million, a 70% collapse of the trilogy's own theatrical run. In 2020, no new movies, a streaming show legally unavailable in most international markets. Hasbro's Star Wars revenue grew 70% year over year. One character named Grogu outsold 3 years of sequel trilogy merchandise. That's amazing. Yeah, so they're saying that, if the rumor lands, this is the most expensive retcon in entertainment history. 5 years of IP development written off because the licensees voted with their older books. Luke, Han, Leia, Vader, Boba, Mando, Grogu, Ashoka generate revenue. The sequel cast generates returns. Will you ever return as a Star Wars fan? Many people are saying that apathy is actually the real franchise killer. What do you think? It's your boy Benny. Still proud of these. All right. Still proud of these. The kids are going to play with them. You know what I mean? And maybe me every once in a while. See ya.